Hello. Is it not a wonderful thing that we can all be here together at this moment? We used to take it so much for granted. These were all in tune a week ago. Well, thank you for coming out tonight. And I'm really happy to be doing this at all, but also to be back in Burlington. There was a while in my life where this area was pretty special to me. I haven't hung around here much for a decade or more, but before that, it was pretty happening. Well, I talk about it now and then. My wife doesn't sympathize too much, so we're still in San Francisco, but you know, that's a good place too. And a welcome to all of you out there in Streamland. This, in case you don't know that, you folks that are actually here, the show's being live streamed, so you know, this is your chance at immortality, you know. And mine too, I guess. Thank you. Thank you very much. That's it's called Sweetness and Light. It's a piece from the most recent release of mine. This is the second attempt at the 50th anniversary tour. It's supposed to happen in 2020, you know. And now I guess we were waiting for Russia to invade the Ukraine before we actually got it going. I'm not sure, but sorry to mention that. But anyway, here we are, and that album, that piece came from an album called Crowing Ignites. It's an instrumental collection that came out in 2019, and this is the most recent thing. Being the 50th anniversary tour, there's going to be kind of a cross-section of stuff from throughout the ages. Not quite going back as far as Elijah, but going back a ways. Slid out of my dreams like a baby out of the nurse's hands onto the hard floor of day. I'd been wearing OJ's gloves and I couldn't get them off. It was too early, but I couldn't sleep. Showered and dressed and stepped out into the heat. The parrot things on the porch next door announced my arrival on Charter Street with their finest rendition of squealing brakes. And down in Caldy's Cafe, the newspaper headlines promised new revelations about Prince Charles's Amex account. A morose youth in old-time Austrian drag stared past his mustache at the floor. And last night's punks and fetish kids, all tattoos and metal bits. And in the other corner, wearing the white trunks, today's tourists, already sweating. Deep in the city of the saints and fools, pearls before pigs and dung become Jews. I sit down with tigers, I sit down with lambs. None of them know who exactly I am. But I've got this thing in my heart I must give you today. It only lives when you give it away. Languid mandala of the ceiling fan teases the air like a slow stroking hand. Study the faces, study the cards. Study the shadow creeping over the yard. I've got this thing in my heart I must give you today. It only lives when you give it away. Trouble with the nations, trouble with relations. Where you gonna go for some illumination? Too much to carry, too much to let go. Time goes fast, learning goes slow. I've got this thing in my heart I must give you today. It only lives when you give it away. I've got this thing in my heart I must give you today. It only lives when you give it away. Give it away. Thanks very much. Thank you. What are we doing? Getting away with it so far. Thank you. Thank you for that. You don't take anything for granted at this point, do we? Do we? I mean, nobody does. Nobody does in their right mind. So, this is a song that comes from the early 80s. I was, at the time, very interested in Central America and in the things that were going on there. Partly because, and actually largely because, my brother Don, who was doing solidarity work with the guerrilla movement in El Salvador at the time, was kind of kept feeding me information about it and trying to get me interested, which he eventually succeeded in doing. And among the many things that he sent my way were reports from the Catholic Church, were UN reports, all kinds of different studies that had been done, and poetry by Ernesto Cardenal, who at the time was the Minister of Culture of Nicaragua, who was a Jesuit priest. Well, he was, and then he wasn't, because of his political activities. They decided he wasn't a priest anymore. But he was an amazing poet. And the other half of the poetry equation was an American woman named Carolyn Forche, who wrote a book called The Country Between Us, a collection of poems about her experiences in El Salvador. And between those two things and the many kind of informational bits that came my way, I got very curious about it, and I eventually ended up getting there. But this song was written before that, when I was just interested in paying attention. And so it's, in a way, it's the voice of sympathetic ignorance, you could say. From the smoke of the burning, fearful survivors, the subject of government directives. One sad guitar note echoes off the wall of the jungle. Seen from the air, they're just targets with nowhere to run to. Children of rape, raised on malnutrition, men in camouflage, filled with a sense of mission. And light through the wire mesh plays on the president's pistol, like the gleam of a bead of sweat in the glow of a candle. Hear the cry in the tropic night. Should be the cry of love, but it's a cry of fright. Some people never see the light. it shines through bullet holes, till it shines through bullet holes. Tropic moon, bathing a beach fringed with palms, glitters on shells and beach tar and coke cans, and on the night-collared boat, and on the barrels of guns. In the rage in the hearts of these men is the seed of a wind they call kingdom come. Hear the cry in the tropic night. Should be the cry of love, but it's a cry of fright. Some people never see the light till it shines through bullet holes. Hear the cry in the tropic night. Should be the cry of love, but it's a cry of fright. Some people never see the light till it shines through bullet holes, till it shines through bullet holes. Thank you. Here's something more recent. This is a San Francisco born song. Cafe society meets in front of Pete's, goes on about the goings on up and down the street. Talk about evictions, talk about their dogs, the drunkards in the dog park and the ones in future fog. The caliphate of perverts and the flight of refugees, expanding ranks of homeless and disappearing bees. Oh, cafe society, a sip of community. Cafe society, misery loves company. And hey, it's a way to start the day. Cafe society, talking up a storm. Talk about the NASDAQ and the racing form. Talk about the opera, talk about cars. Talk about the desert and the colonies on Mars. Talk about tsunamis and the crazies with their guns and crazy-ass policemen shooting everything that runs. Oh, cafe society, a sip of community. Cafe society, misery loves company. Hey, it's a way to start the day. beauty, talk about disease. The supersized container ships that ply the swelling seas. Somebody went to heaven, left some parts in the bay, but he's a friending of a friending, I don't know him anyway. Flapping lips of flatulence, bellow, vote for me. Everything is spinning in the looming entropy, but cafe society, a sip of community. Cafe society, misery loves company. But hey, it's a way to start the day. Oh, cafe society, a sip of community. Cafe society, misery loves company. And hey, it's a way to start the day. Thank you. Here's a new, well, it's an almost new song. Back in the spring, I had 4 new songs, and I thought at least 2 of those new songs needed to be heard then. And I mean, I didn't want to wait till whenever it is that we get to do another album. So we made a video demo of it's just me sitting in a room playing the songs. A friend of mine, Mark Hero, recorded it, and we put it out as a video called, oddly, 4 New Songs. And it went out on YouTube. And so at the time, those were the new songs. There's more since then, and we're actually just about that far away from being able to get in the studio and make another album, but this is one of those 4. I quite look forward to that. But this is called Orders. The just, the merciful, the cruel, the stumbling, well-intentioned fool. The deft, the oaf, the witless pawn, the golden one life smiles upon. The squalling infant in mid-squall, the neighbors fighting down the hall. The list is long, as I recall. Our orders said to love them all. The cynic and the crooked priest, the woman wise, the sullen beast. Enemy outside the gate, the friend who leaves it all to fate. The drunk who tags the bathroom stall, the proud boy headed for his fall. The list is long, as I recall. Our orders said to love them all. preaching shades of hate, the self-inflating head of state. The black and blue, the starved for bread, the dread, the red, the better dead. The vile, the tall, the small, the one who rises to their call. The list is long, as I recall. Our order said to love them all. The one who lets his demons win, the one we think we're better than. A challenge great, as I recall. Our order said to love them all. Thank you. Orders. Thank you very much. Thank you for that. This is the choreography part of the show. Later there'll be more. There's a theory that says that these guitars should be tuned before the show starts. Once in a while, the theory gets put into practice, but sometimes things get missed. All right. Sunset is an angel weeping, holding out a bloody sword. You know, I let myself get distracted here. I was thinking, I'm going to stop this, I'm going to start it again in a second, but let yourself get distracted, you're completely screwed when you're doing this stuff. And well, thank you. Yeah, I get distracted by it too. I get distracted by the fact that I want my finger to go there and it doesn't. And the older I get, the more I find that to be the case. But anyway, now the question is, well, if I start it again, am I going to get to the same place and go, This could be tricky, but I'll tell you about the song. Like the song,
I was living on a horse farm west of Toronto in the early 90s, and I liked the horses. I lived there for, it was about a 7-year stretch, and there were some things about that situation that didn't work out too well, which led to its ultimate dissolution and a change into other ways of living. But I was driving home from the city. One of the problems with it was I wanted to live in the country. I've been living in Toronto for 20 years or whatever, close to it anyway. And I thought, I want to get, actually not that long, 12 years. And I wanted to get out of the city. I wanted to be in a rural environment, and kind of where I could hear the wind instead of traffic and stuff like that. And I got involved with a gal who was a horse trainer, and we moved to a place in the country. Problem was, it was on a busy highway that led commuters into Toronto. So in the morning, instead of hearing the wind, at 5 a.m., you'd be hearing, some like those blown speakers in the back of a little car coming down the highway. We had 7 cats, 5 dogs, and a dozen horses, and the cats kept getting run over on the highway. There was quite a turnover there, actually. Smack. Cats are cocky. They think they can outrun anything, they can't outrun that disco speaker in the back of somebody's car. Anyway, one day I was driving home from Toronto, and there was a ridge behind us, quite a high escarpment, the Niagara Escarpment, and the sun was setting over the ridge, and there was a cloud formation in the sky, and what I saw became this song. What I saw and what I was feeling and thinking about the whole situation. Sunset is an angel weeping, holding out a bloody sword. No matter how I squint, I cannot make out what it's pointing toward. Sometimes you feel like you've lived too long. Days drip slowly on the page. You catch yourself pacing the cage. I've proven who I am so many times. The magnetic strip's worn thin, and each time I was someone else, and everyone was taken in. Powers chatter in high places, stir up eddies in the dust of rage. Set me to pacing the cage. I never knew what you all wanted, so I gave you everything. All that I could pillage, all the spells that I could sing. It's as if the thing were written in the constitution of the age. Sooner or later, you'll wind up pacing the cage. Sometimes the best map will not guide you. You can't see what's round the bend. Sometimes the road leads through dark places. Sometimes the darkness is your friend. Today these eyes scan bleached out land for the coming of the outbound stage. Pacing the cage. Pacing the cage. Thank you. Thank you very much. Seen red gold haze at the end of the day, ragged winged hawks swooping down on prey, curtain going up on the nighttime shadow play. Seen the sun going down, set the sea on fire, black smoke boiling from burning tires, and bones in the mud was the blood sacrifice required. Sights I've seen in the depth of the world and the heart of a dream. Ooh-wee, all the places I've been, each one reflected in the states I'm in. Oh, states I'm in. One day fit and one day fat, one day flush and one day flat, reality distorted like a sat-on hat. One day I feel like I'm in control, next I'm suspended in a bottomless hole, a drunk trying to shinny up a greased pole. Sights I've seen in the depth of the world and the heart of a dream. Ooh-wee, all the places I've been, each one reflected in the states I'm in. Oh, states I'm in. I'm slick as a dealer in a green eye shade. Aces up his sleeve and he's not afraid. The mayor in his uniform, monkeys have been well paid. Climbing up the ivy to the balcony above, where pines the heart of my one true love. Obsession, delusion, all that waits is a fateful shove. All the sights I've seen in the depth of the world and the heart of a dream. Ooh, all the places I've been, each one reflected in the states I'm in. Oh, states I'm in. Crows in the treetops, motors in the road, structures of darkness that the dawn corrodes, into the title montage of a new episode. Whisper wells up from the deeps on trod, overflows its channel and spreads abroad, gathers in power like lightning rod. All the sights I've seen in the depth of the world and the heart of a dream. Ooh, all the places I've been, each one reflected in the states I'm in. Oh, states I'm in. Ooh, all the sights I've seen in the depth of the world and the heart of a dream. Ooh, all the places I've been, each one reflected in the states I'm in. Oh, states I'm in.
So eventually I did get to Central America. I was looking around for a way to go. I didn't want to just buy a ticket and go, which I could have done, but I don't speak Spanish. And, you know, here's this guy from Canada showing up among all these people that are living the lives they live, and they have no idea who I am or what I'm about, and I have no idea who they are and what they're about, and it really wouldn't have been really worth it, I don't think. But so I was kind of looking for some way to get there in a non-tourist capacity, and eventually the aid agency Oxfam came along and
said, how would you feel about going to Central America for us? And was, I said, yeah, I think I'd feel quite cheerful about that, actually. I mean, it's a bit scary. It was a war zone and stuff, but I'd never been in a war zone before. Since then, I've been in a few, but at that time, it was like, yeah, I don't know, like, I had a long rat tail, down the back, and I cut it off because if I got caught by the Contras, I didn't want them to, like, see the rat tail and think that I was some kind of weirdo that they needed to torture. That's how naive I was, and how, that was the level of understanding of what was going on in Central America before going there. It produced that trip, especially, there were a couple of other trips subsequently, at least one of which that produced a song that's around. But that first trip, as is the case, I think, with a lot of first-time experiences, it made a huge impression, and it's like, it's kind of analogous to falling in love. Whenever people write great songs when they're falling in love newly, or when they're splitting up with somebody, right? Because the emotions are raw and they're on the surface, and all kinds of imagination, all kinds of things get triggered in your imagination, and that happens with other circumstances too, not just being in love, but with travel for me a lot, and sometimes on the spiritual quest, but in this case, it's the travel. Battered buses jammed up to the roof, dust and diesel the prevailing themes. Trailing over like he's trolling for dreams. Smiling girl directing traffic flow, 45 strapped over cotton print dress. Marimba brown and graceful limbs, give me a moment of loneliness. Dust and diesel rise like incense from the road. For the revolution morning. Headlights pick out fallen sack of corn, one lone tarantula standing guard. We pull up and stop and she ambles off, discretion much the better part of cards. Rodrigo, the government driver, jumps out. He's got chickens who can use the feed. We sweep the asphalt on our hands and knees, fill up his trunk with dusty yellow seeds. Dust and diesel rise like incense from the road. Guitars and rifles in blue moonlight, soldiers stretched out on sparkling grass. Engine broke down, they took us in. Now we make music for the time to pass. Tired men and women raise their voice to the night. Hope the fragile bloom they've grown will last. Pride and passion and love and fear, burning hearts, burning the boats of the past. Dust and diesel rise like incense from the road. Smoke of offering for the revolution morning. Dust and diesel rise like incense from the road. Smoke of offering for the revolution morning. Thank you. Thank you. Thanks very much. I'm going to do one more song and take a little break. This song was a portend of the turn of the millennium. Prophetic as hell. I got excited about the turn of the millennium, as well, lots of people did. I mean, because we were being told to. It's like, hey, computers are going to stop, planes are going to fall, all that shit. And, you know, stock up on stuff, because nothing will be available. As if they knew, right? I mean, like, the past 2 years, give me a break. But there we were back in 1999 going, 2000's coming. And, you know, my policy was to just stock up on water and ammunition. I figured if I had those two things, I could get the food. And it all turned out to be so completely stupid. The one thing that was actually really interesting about that event, though, at the turn of Y2K, I did a gig, along with some other people, on the waterfront in Toronto on January 1st, 2000, at night, outdoors. It was 20 below. The wind was whipping off the lake, off Lake Ontario, and it was apocalyptic, I can tell you. That was the truly apocalyptic moment there. Anyway. I'm sipping Florida Canyon lime juice. It's 3 a.m. Blow a fruit fly off the rim of my glass. The radio's playing Superchunk and the Friends of Dean Martinez. Midnight, it was bike tires whacking the potholes, milling humans, shivering energy glow, fusing the spaces between them with bar throb bass and laughter. If this were the last night of the world, what would I do? What would I do that was different, unless it was champagne with you? I learned as a child not to trust in my body. I've carried that burden through my life. But there's a day when we all get to be pried loose. If this were the last night of the world, sing it with me. What would I do? What would I do that was different, unless it was champagne with you? I've seen the flame of hope among the hopeless, and that was truly the biggest heartbreak of all. That was the straw that broke me open. If this were the last night of the world, what would I do? What would I do that was different, unless it was champagne with you? Sounded good. I'll see you in a few minutes.